It's been nearly 370 years since Cromwell had the king beheaded. Relations between the monarch and Parliament were restored, but at arm's length. Typically, the Queen comes to the Palace of Westminster just once a year to read a speech written by her ministers. The head of state is kept out of the business of government, but knows perhaps better than anyone else what's going on.
She absolutely knows what's going on. But let me make it clear, she isn't a politician.
What she could offer was insight into the burden of the office.
I'm Chris Hopkins. I'm the MP for Keighley and Ilkley, but I'm also the Vice Chamberlain to Her Majesty's household. My main job is to write a message every day to the Queen. It's a great privilege. It's a great way of communicating to Her Majesty what goes on in the chamber and the tea rooms and the corridors of Westminster.
In her 64 years on the throne, the Queen has built up a vast insider knowledge of politics. She's now working with her 12th Prime Minister. Sir Winston Churchill was the first. The Premier of the day is summoned by the Queen for a weekly audience.
She has a particular perspective, of course, not only as monarch, but actually as a woman. And her perspective would often be different from a male perspective.
Was it like sort of going to see the headmistress?
No, I mean, at the very beginning, because I was new and she was so, even then, you know, long in her role, there was a slight sense of awe about the whole thing.
So what do we know about the Queen's own opinions? Very little. Incredibly, when she spoke to me briefly back in 1987 about a coup in Fiji, it was the only time she's given a spontaneous interview to a reporter.
Are you worried about Fiji, Sri Lanka?
Well, I think it's very sad, yes. Very sad.
Mr. Hawke thinks you've got a further statement to make on the subject.
I know, we've all been hearing that.
Is it true?
This summer, while hosting a garden party, she did let herself go, caught on camera bemoaning the manners of Chinese officials preparing for their president's state visit.
Very rude to the ambassador.
I mean, there's always speculation about royal family, their views. Most recently, it's been the Queen is a Eurosceptic. Do you think the Queen is a Eurosceptic?
No, the one thing I absolutely can tell you about the Queen, I mean, I have no idea what her actual politics is. And I was Prime Minister for 10 years.
Nobody would know.
So you don't know what she thinks of the European Union?
If I did, I wouldn't tell you. But in fact, I don't know.
But they tell her, and her involvement in the daily business of government continues.
What I try to do is to make sure she understands the personalities, you know, the tensions, sometimes a bit of gossip. She asked me to make sure that I got, you know, the light side of Parliament in as well. And, you know, I've had feedback, you know, about the fact she enjoys reading it.
And so the public side of the Queen's relationship with government concludes for another year. She's only been at the Palace of Westminster for an hour with no time to speak to her Prime Minister. That doesn't matter. The quiet influence she has exerted since 1952 has ensured that no modern-day Cromwell would dare challenge this monarch.